Hey, what's up, Mysteries of the Museum? I have a new episode of the Old 52. They're brought to you by Primal Paper Comics, specifically my comic. I publish Red Knight over with Primal Paper Comics. Check out our website where you can figure out how to buy either print copies or digital download. This special is free, by the way. Also available is Jeff Hewitt's Awesome The Ends, Willpower, Dogs and Sailors, and 41, I have an announcement to make, is making a comeback. We should be seeing that sometime over the next few months. I'll talk more about that later. Now, let's talk about some old comics. As you know, the Old 52 is where I tell you about this awesome #1 of a defunct series, and I've been wanting to talk about this one for quite a while. It is the #1 issue of Sandman Mystery Theater. Now, I started collecting the series during the second story arc, so I never had the first story arc in a single issue, so what I'm reviewing is from the trade. The cover here is done by Matt Wagner, but ordinarily these were photo covers, and they were very cool throughout the entire series. They had models dressed up as characters, either the main cast or some of the guest cast for various series. They did play around with that. Some issues had drawn covers, but mostly it was the kind of the photo collage model stuff, which was interesting. This trade is the only Matt Wagner artwork I'm familiar with. Now, this series was done by Matt Wagner, and Guy Davis worked on the first story arc, but Stephen T. Siegel dropped in to co-plot and co-write the rest of the series with Matt Wagner. He actually eventually took over, I'd say, more than halfway through the series, and he did a pretty fine job, I have to say, of keeping the book going until its eventual end around the 70-issue mark, the typical Vertigo ongoing mark. I'm not sure why that is a thing. Maybe it's because of Sandman, and God damn you, Neil Gaiman, must you always influence us, all of us? Well, speaking of Neil Gaiman, this version of the Sandman is Wesley Dodds, who is the Golden Age crime fighter. Basically, he was a rich man, much like Bruce Wayne, but he was struck with a different motivation. He started suffering nightmares, and he realized that these nightmares were related to crimes. So, in order to get rid of the nightmares, he started trying to solve the crimes himself, using gas weapons and a gas gun. He usually wore a gas mask. And this picked up on a thread left by Neil Gaiman's first issue of Sandman, where he suggests that Morpheus' imprisonment was the cause of this psychic issue he had with his dreams. And it even refers to that within the first page, actually. And that's all it does. There's no big crossover in this storyline or anything like that. He does meet Morpheus briefly in a special called Sandman Midnight Theater. But that's not for a while. What's interesting is it doesn't have very much to do with the series. It causes his nightmares, but it really isn't dealt with all that much, which I actually found pretty fascinating. Well, issue 1 is called The Tarantula, and it's about a small series of kidnappings that was going on with the city of New York. This takes place in the late 30s, just before, a few years shy of World War II. And Wesley Dodds is this mysterious rich guy who, I don't know, he's kind of aloof, and he's kind of nerdy, and he's kind of chubby too, and no one really thinks, too much about him, except, now he's come back into the social scene after the death of his father, and starting to take over the business, which, his friends in high society think, about time, karum. But a lot of the action is dealt with Diane Belmont, who is the daughter of the district attorney. And let's see, she's kind of a young, rich girl socialite. She's in her mid-20s, she's out of school, she's trying to figure out what she wants to do with her life. And her friend gets kidnapped, which kind of thrusts her and Wesley in parallel routes into this mystery. Like, who is the kidnapper? Who is the tarantula who leaves a note? Meanwhile, we get to slowly learn who Wesley Dodds is. Now, spoil things for you. He's the hero, but the series does an interesting job showing kind of mysteriously how he go about his business. Also, this doll that sort of dreams for him in a weird way. But this series is fascinating. It basically is a reboot of the old 30s book, and it thrusts Wesley and Diane into a more realistic 30s, which deals with history and combines it with murder mystery and a little bit of DC history too. I love this series. Guy David's art is incredibly fascinating, and you may have seen some of his work on the Hellboy spinoff, BRPD. I'm sorry, Mike Mignola. No. You need better initials for your super team.
BPRD.
Yeah. You read this book and you have to think about that. Anyway, his work is amazing. It's cartoony and rough and realistic all in the same time. I love the fact that his characters aren't really in superhero shape. Even the ones who are superheroes who pop into this book aren't in superhero shape. This is a great, great book. It's one of my favorite runs of all time, actually. I highly recommend it if you've only heard about this series. I recommend checking it out. The first couple of story arcs are collected in trade. I recommend either getting the trades or all the single issues. It's not that hard. It probably isn't that hard to dig them all up. But I do recommend number 1 and the first story arc of Sandman Mystery Theater, The Tarantula. Go check it out. Push the button, Lindsay.